Hey guys, we're back. This time we're going to be taking a look at an awesome 3D printed insert for Star Trek Ascendancy. This one was posted on Thingiverse by D6 Pack Podcast, and I'll put a link down in the description for it, but let's get right in and take a look. So if you have Ascendancy, you know the more and more stuff there is, the harder it is to fit everything back in this original box, even as big as it is. But with this insert, everything fits in here nice, and there's even some room for some extras. Each of the factions gets its own faction themed box, and these can even be printed a little bit nicer. I did a kind of a rush job on them. You can see there's some lines on them and things, but I wanted to get them done because I had 12 extra factions to do. But in each one of these, there is enough room for everything, including the system, except that mine are sleeved. So I might have to edit the files. It's kind of late because I already printed them all. So I might go through and actually trim these a little bit to make it so, I already did the bottom one so that the sleeved advancement cards will fit. But you need to lower, you can see these little indentations on here that need to be lowered a little bit so that you can get the sleeve trade agreements and sleeve fleet cards to fit down in those notches as well. But there's plenty of room in there for all of your ships, all of your control nodes, the dice pack, as well as your fleets and your stations. And it's worth noting I also do have the escalation packs for each of the factions. So they're in there as well. The only time this really becomes an issue is with the custom factions, because some of their stations are larger and they don't fit back in the tray too well. So I may have to make an extra box for custom factions. But I have each of the three main factions that are in the core game. I haven't, I'm going to do this in white so that it stands out, the logo here, but I started to, but I didn't like the paint I was using, so haven't finished painting those yet, but you get an idea. There's also one for each of the expansions, and the files have these with the faction logos on them too. So you have the Andorians there. There's the Ferengi. I haven't painted theirs yet. The Vulcans, which should be orange, I know, but I didn't have orange filament. I tried to match them up as best I could. And the Cardassians. And you also have room in here for one extra. In the files for it, he also gave faction-themed dice towers that will fit in here. I think 2 dice towers take up the same as one of these trays. I have so many extra factions. This one's actually my Dominion faction. And eventually I'm going to print out, my wife has a Cricut machine that does like vinyl stickers. And I'm going to make a decal for the top of these with the faction logo for all my other factions too. But I have that in there as well. But you can just as easily print out the dice towers and put them in there. And we have the Borg faction. Again, if you take the Borg out of here, you can fit another 2 factions in there. So it fits all 7 of the core factions, plus 1 extra if you don't use the dice towers. Plus you can get 2 more in there if you don't do the Borg one. But the Borg one's nice. Again, cards fit on top here. And you have your nodes, the activation tokens, and the dice. This tray slides out, and underneath you have plenty of room for the actual cubes and stands. If you put these command cards in the card holder that's there, the deck holder, you have enough room actually for 2 sets in here. So I sleeved all mine, so they took up a little bit more room. So I had to do it this way, but it works for me. And again, I had to trim these down just a hair. You can't really tell I did a good job to make the sleeved cards fit in here. I did have some issues getting the lid to fit on the Borg one. As you can see, it's still kind of loose. It doesn't like to slot in properly. And I think it's because these side walls are just a hair too tall. And yeah, I'm not sure. That seems to be the only one I had issues with the lid though. I tried printing it multiple times just to see if it would work, but... Then the next thing we have here are our space lanes. And these trays have plenty of room in here. This is actually every space lane from every expansion. In my old insert, I actually left a few back in the boxes because I don't think you ever actually need them. But you have this box for your 2 space lanes. There's this box for the 4 space lanes. We have our control panels set nicely right here. Those are all the official control panels. Under those, we have the 3 space lane. And this one, they actually have a divider in there because it was taller to make it all fit. Then we have our cards, and this is the only tray that I really want to modify because it was not designed for sleeved cards. And ideally all you'd have to do is make these side walls thinner. I get these extra thick side walls because, in here I have extras I thought. But there's these dividers that are supposed to hang in these little trays. And you don't really need them to hang in there. So making these walls thinner, I could probably get these cards in here straight. I also used oversized sleeves. You can see here on the end how there's so much overlap. These are just cheap penny sleeves. And I might move to a more perfect fit sleeve in the future, and that'll kind of remedy this, I think. So, but there's room in here for, I have the Borg exploration cards, the regular exploration cards, the turn order cards, and you can put the Borg command cards in there too if you want. Onto the important trays here, we got the planetary trays, and I have the custom starter stuff in here for the Dominion. But usually you have a little bit of extra room in here because you won't have these in there. And in the files are a separator thing you can put in here to separate out the Borg planets or the starter planets if you want. It also has these little command trays. They're kind of tricky to get filled the first time, but they work good. There's 2 of these, so you can put 1 on each end of the board, and you don't have to keep reaching all across the entire table to get them. And as I said, the starter planets will actually fit in with the race boxes if you don't have your card sleeved, or if you adjust that file just a little bit. But they work like that for now without it. Next we have the tokens. There's one of these boxes for each side of the board. You've got production and warp. And like I said, there's 2 of those. You have 1 for each end of the board, so you're not reaching across to everybody all the time. And then you have a research and culture one. Same thing. And these are actually angled in the front. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Doesn't catch it too well there. I can kind of see it there. These are angled so you can pull them out. They're not squared off. They are on the other 3 sides, but really helps to get them in and out. Then we have our nodes. There's only 1 node box, but this has all the plastic nodes in it. These aren't used quite as much as the tokens, so. And then, of course, a tray for your Ascendancy tokens. And again, this fits every Ascendancy token from every expansion, with room for some extras on the end there. So that's nice. And again, these fit back in really nice and neat, and fills up the entire box with just a hair. I think the top of the box sits up maybe, I don't know if you can see there without me moving the camera, but maybe 10 millimeters, if that. Not horrible. but considering how much you got in here, it's probably the only way to feasibly do it. Trying to remember myself how they go back in here. I thought they went in that way. Should pay attention when I took stuff out. What am I doing wrong here? I think. Goes like that. There we go. Trial and error. There we go. And then again, you could put either the dice towers in here or these faction trays. And then you can either put the Borg in here or 2 more faction themed trays. And then all 7 of the official races. And everybody asks why the Frankie Box is gold. Well, that's because my Ferengi, if I can get all the cards out of the way, my Ferengi are gold. I didn't like the brown color. I didn't think it fit for them. The downside is my faction dice are now the wrong color, and you really can't paint dice. But yeah, everything goes back in there. All the dashboards there. You got all your rule books in case you need to reference anything, and the core book on top. It's a nice way to get everything that's out there for Ascendancy back into the box. As I said, if you don't have any of the custom factions, this will fit everything perfectly. You can fit 1 custom faction in here if you take out the dice towers. You can fit 3 in here if you take out the board. And aside from that, my mess of a box here, I also have additional trays for each of my custom factions. That's the Bajorans. I have a lot of these too, and they're player boards here. Haven't figured out a way to store these better, but this box works good. I just store it with the big box. Although it is worth saying that 3 of these will fit perfectly in the expansion boxes. So if you only have a couple races, you can stick them in the expansion boxes and you're good to go. I haven't done the decals on these, and I had some that were on my old boxes. I just kind of taped on here for now. But that's the Bajorans. I want to say this is the Gorn. That's the Orions species. Yeah, they're much easier when they're marked. The Sona, like I said, I taped on old things, so they're kind of peeling off. Temporary. We got there the Terran Empire. Green. This is the Tholians, I think. Yep, Tholians. I don't even know what half these are. That's the Zindi. I haven't even got a chance to play with them yet. Then that's got to be the Gorn, because it's the only one left. Yep. And the only problem I ran into is that for some of the fan-made factions, the Breen, the space stations are just a hair too big to fit in the box with them. And they could probably be scaled down. They're not too bad. The Gorn ones are pretty large. And the Zindi ones, just because of the amount of ships they have and different types, didn't fit. They also have... Oh, it broke off its stand. They also have the special starbase. But yeah, that's how I'm doing these for now. And as I said, you can fit 3 of these in a faction box. So even with all the factions I have right there, these will all fit in the existing faction boxes that are out there. Because you have 4 of those, the Cardassians, the Ferengi, the Balkans, and the Andorians. And this right here, these 3 will take 1, those 3 under will take 1, these 3 will take 1. That'll leave you with an extra box. You could put the extra space stations and I got the wormholes, which I don't even think the faction versions I have use these. I just thought they were cool. But you could put that stuff in the last box. The only downside is that some of the command boards do not fit in those, so you'd have to find something with those. They could easily set on top of the Ascendancy box, though. But for now, this works for me. They all fit in here. I even have my old Dominion control panel because I'm too lazy to print the new one. But yeah, that's everything. This is an awesome insert design, and you can tell a lot of work went into it to fit everything into, even though it's a massive box, there's just a lot of stuff. And it's really nice that you can just open it up, hand each player one of the trays, and you're good to go right there. So anyway, that's a look at the 3D printed insert for Star Trek Ascendancy. As I said, D6 Pack Podcast made it, and there'll be a link down in the description to the Thingiverse files, and you can check it out on there and print up your own if it looks like something you'd be interested in. I will tell you that it did take quite a bit of time on my printer. Each one of those trays took around 12 hours, I think, 14, something like that, 12 to 14. I had it fiddled with a bunch of different settings, also using different colors for each one. I didn't have all the colors, obviously, but that takes time too, changing filament and that. So keep all that in mind. This whole thing, doing all the base game and all of my extras, took me close to, I want to say, 3 weeks to print everything I needed. So keep that in mind. It is a lot of time to invest if you're looking to print these up for yourself, but I think it's well worth it, especially for a game that's this played. You know, you see my poor box is getting beat up because I have it out so much. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this one. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.